Well, thank you so much. Welcome to today's digital dive. We're calling it Holiday Thriving. My name is Karen Smith. I'm the manager of clinical nutrition services at Texas Oncology, and I'm joined by Leah Wilson, who is one of our dietitians at Salmons. And we are going to be talking about strategies, swaps, and supports for the holiday.
So we know there's a lot of stress around the holidays coming from a lot of different areas. So we wanted to take time to give you some strategies and some tips to help reduce stress around eating and nutrition. And hopefully you can take something away that will make your holiday season a little less stressful.
Absolutely. So I would like to just take a moment to start with gratitude. This is such a busy time of year, and even though we know that it's Thanksgiving, it says thankfulness in the title, it is tough sometimes just to take a moment and remember what we're thankful for. Um, and part of it is most of the things that are stressful sometimes are the things that we are grateful for. We're doing this in real time. I am squeezing this in at the end of the workday, and I'm about to head to my son's sports events, and I am very grateful for the joy of the busyness of the season, but I also recognize it's a stress. So I'm grateful for family, for the work that we are able to do at Texas Oncology and work with the foundation. Um, and that's I think for me, one of the reminders too is that all the busyness and stress are often also sources of things that if I take a moment, I can be grateful for. What about you, Leah? Anything that you've been thinking of this season of gratitude?
Yeah, I'm gonna second that. Definitely a good point. Even the things that can bring us joy can also be stressful. And so it's one of the things I wanted to point out during the holiday season. It can get very busy. And so it is okay to say no to some things. Don't feel like you have to go to every single event and do all the things. It's okay to take some time for yourself and just be in the moment and be present and actually enjoy what's around you. I'm really excited to spend more time with family this year. They live only about 45 minutes away, so I have no excuse not to get over there. But I'm very thankful that they are that close and that I can spend time with them.
Awesome. All right. Also, so starting with our swaps, what do we have for our first swap or strategy today?
Yeah, so we definitely wanted to give you guys a refresher or mocktail, if you will, just something else to be hydrated with throughout the holiday season if you're trying to limit your alcohol intake or even if you just want a nice holiday beverage to enjoy. So it's a really simple recipe. You can alter this however you like, depending on what flavors you like best. But I picked one that was based around cranberry, just because I know that's more of um, a holiday item that we like to incorporate. So the first thing you're going to do with this recipe is muddle your cranberries and your pomegranate seeds in a glass.
I have my,
Already
I do have
done
a little
that.
picture that I'm trying.
I've already
I'm
done
gonna
that
make
off
this.
camera just because I didn't know how it was going to turn out because it's kind of the first time I've done that. So this is my muddled cranberries and pomegranate seeds. And again, you can kind of mix this with whatever you want. And
Mhm.
this is also just to help kind of the flavor come out a little bit more. And so after that, I'm going to add my sparkling water. And again, I did the cranberry, it's
Mhm.
cranberry raspberry flavored.
Oh, nice. I forgot to actually muddle this before I put the berries in, but so I'm just gonna mush them in with the water.
Yeah, it'll still turn out good.
Yeah.
So I added pretty much the whole can to that, but depending on how big you want your drink, you don't have to add the whole thing. And then we're also going to add pomegranate juice. So I'm just going to add a splash of this. It says 1 ounce, but you don't have to use exact measurements if you just want to kind of eyeball it. And honestly, you can mix this with whatever sparkling water you want to use. You can use orange juice, pineapple juice, pomegranate juice, just whatever you like.
Oh, I have some apple cider left over from Halloween, actually, that's what I'm using.
Yeah, that's another big one I saw when I was looking at recipes.
Hmm.
And then I'm just gonna garnish with a little bit of rosemary. So it was really simple to make, also a great way to get hydration in, but kind of make it a little bit more interesting so you're not just drinking water all day long. If you feel like you're missing out, if you're not indulging in an alcoholic beverage, it kind of gives you something else to, enjoy with everyone else.
Also, just the process of kind of mixing things together it feels very festive.
It does, especially with how red it is.
Yep. And as oncology dietitians, should, I wanted to mention that one of the recommendations is to reduce alcohol for women. It's 1 drink a day. For men, it's 2 or fewer per day. So this swap does fall in line with our recommendations for cancer prevention and healthy survivorship. Also, the pomegranate seeds and the cranberry seeds are both excellent sources of vitamin C and some phytochemicals. I think quercetin, I don't remember off the top of my head. Do you remember?
I think you're right.
Mhm. Maybe even resveratrol. So if you're not, which is the one that they always say for wine. So awesome. Plus it's so pretty. Like
It
just the
is.
berries and yep. Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers. Hmm, that's fun.
It's really good. It has
Yeah,
a lot of flavor.
it does. Yeah, it's funny because I really do recommend it to a lot of people, just that little bit of juice in the seltzer. It
Yeah,
cuts so much down on the added sugar.
it
Um,
does. It comes
and
together so quickly too, like even just a splash of the juice added a lot of flavor.
awesome. So that's our first swap, first cheers and support. And for the rest of the time together, what we wanted to do is talk about 4 different strategies and then include some different healthy swaps that might make some of your meals a little bit healthier during the holiday season. So over the next probably 15 to 20 minutes of this digital dive, we will talk about moving more in the holiday season, indulging in what nourishes you, so foods to include more of, savoring small treats. So this will include things that maybe we should cut back on, but during the holiday season, we know that they're a part of life. And then we'll end up talking about relaxing and connecting, which is uh, also focusing on what nourishes us, but maybe not so much with food. All right. Anything you're looking forward to during the holiday for movement?
Yeah, starting with trying to get more movement in, it can kind of be harder during the holidays because there is so much going on and you have the tendency to just want to cozy up in your house. But one thing I like to do is take advantage of my hot yoga classes just
Right.
because during the summer
Mhm.
it's not motivating to go be in another hot room. So
True. Hmm.
that's one time I really like to dive into that. Even if it's just a yoga class that's mainly focusing on stretching, it's still beneficial to show up for yourself, be with other people, get a little bit of movement in for the day.
Hmm.
There's some other things you can do to motivate yourself during the holiday season. If you're more of a competitive personality and you have a device that tracks your daily steps, you can do like step challenges with friends or family and set a goal like, okay, we're going to try to get 10,000 steps every day this week and see how many days off. So, doing little things like that to stay motivated and taking a moment to really plan it out. Because sometimes if you don't plan in advance, it can fall to the wayside easily. So little things like that I found have helped me during the winter time.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I 1 year I did a challenge that was kind of like it was called a marathon challenge, but it was for the whole month. So the idea was to complete 26 miles in November, which was just about a little bit less than a mile a day. So when it was broken down like that, it both felt like a big goal because you were running a marathon, but it also felt really manageable because it was less than a mile a day. So
Yes,
Those are nice
that's a
step
great point.
challenges.
Yeah, that's
Um,
a great point to bring up because not every day is going to be perfect, especially during this crazy busy season. So try to focus on what you're doing majority of the time, and your day is going to be perfect. If there's days you have to break your movement up into 10-minute spurts over a few times a day, that's totally fine. Whatever works for you and your schedule.
yeah. And something I've been both trying to do, but it is also a struggle too, is I really have been, because I'm driving so much, doing so many sports activities, and also just extra shopping for the holidays, is I do park far away and then walk in. My kids make fun of me. They're like, Mom, can we just park close? But especially during the holiday season, their parking lots are so full. And sometimes it actually does save time just to park far away and walk in, even though it's not as convenient.
Yeah, it's little things like that that add up throughout the day, though, right? Like, or taking the
Hmm.
stairs instead of the elevator. So it doesn't have to be necessarily like, okay, I'm working out in this allotted time. It can be little things like that too.
Yep. And then we did talk about if you do have any like Christmas lights near you, or um, maybe a little bit late for kind of those corn mazes or stuff, but looking at family activities or holiday excursions that incorporate a little bit of activity can be fun too.
Yes, if you're feeling very adventurous, maybe ice skating would be a good one.
Yes, that'd be really adventurous. Yeah. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about indulging in foods that nourish us. This is not just during the holidays, but this is all times of year. The American Institute for Cancer Research, which is the organization that we pull a lot of these recommendations from, does recommend getting more whole grains, fruits, vegetables, and beans. These foods have a lot of vitamins and minerals. They're high in fiber. And they really should be the basis of our diet every day and during the holidays. So whole grains at this time of year, using whole wheat bread if you're making a stuffing, or oatmeal in the morning, or overnight oats can be really convenient and helpful to incorporate some more whole grains into your diet. And as a snack, if you can do popcorn, I know not everyone, especially if you've had GI surgery as part of your treatment, or sometimes people have radiation that prevents them from being able to eat high fiber foods such as popcorn. But if you are able to incorporate more whole grains into your diet, oatmeal and popcorn are great whole grains that are really easy to incorporate. And then swapping some whole wheat bread for white bread and stuffing will just give you a little bit more fiber there. During the winter, it's such a fun time for citrus. Lemons, oranges, grapefruits are really, this is the season for them. So it's a great time to incorporate more citrus into your diet. We've already had pomegranate and cranberry, which are excellent winter fruits that are really in season right now. And then winter vegetables, this is the time that brassica vegetables, so broccoli, Brussels sprouts, cabbage, um, really, they're actually a little bit less bitter, especially if they're grown locally or in the United States. During the summer, brassica vegetables such as broccoli and Brussels sprouts tend to get a little bit bitter in the hot weather, but in the cold weather, if you can get locally grown broccoli or cabbage, it actually does tend to be a little bit sweeter this time of year. Um, Carrots, beets, leeks, and mushrooms are also all winter vegetables that um, have different vitamins, different phytochemicals in them, and should be incorporated into your diet. And then for beans, if you wanted to swap out some of the like mayonnaise or sour cream based dips for a bean dip, that's a nice healthy holiday swap. Incorporating beans or lentils into soups or making hearty salads um, can definitely just get you more fiber and incorporate these healthy foods into your diet. And so I am going to actually try to do just a quick bean salad right now and see, show you kind of how easy it can be. So I do have, not promoting necessarily Whole Foods, lots of different places have these like the boxes of beans that are really easy to grab and open. Um,
This one you can actually pair. And for these, I do usually always want to rinse them because they have a little bit of a, when they're in the water, in the box or in the can, it just can, it gives it a little bit of a nice fresher flavor to rinse them off. So I'm gonna do that after I get. My apologies for walking around my kitchen. As I mentioned, I am actually doing this in real time. I am going to my son's basketball game right after this, right after we film. So this will actually be my dinner tonight. So I have the white beans. I have a little bit of olive oil. I'm just going to pour over. I don't measure, as one of our other dietitians sometimes likes to say, I measure with my heart. That was probably about a teaspoon and a half. And you can go up or down a little bit on the olive oil. As we mentioned, citrus, this is a great time of year for the citrus. So I just have a lemon, I cut up. And basically the olive oil and lemon is what gives it a little bit of like a dressing. So a little bit of lemon in there with the olive oil. And I did wash the parsley before. So I'm going to have parsley to chop. Parsley is also a nice, if you can grow, like it grows pretty easily. I've noticed that you can get different plants, like you can get the parsley plant at the store. Because I almost never can use the whole bunch of parsley before it is time that it needs to go in the compost or something. So it's nice when I have had a parsley plant, it's a nice way to both feel like it is not being wasteful and that I'm using it, and it's also a nice decoration. So we have parsley. Celery also gets a little bit sweeter in the winter. It's a nice vegetable. It adds a lot of crunch, adds some nice flavor. And the other thing actually about these, any kind of bean salad, the flavors kind of incorporate and it improves over about a day, especially you want to keep it in the fridge, food safety, but the longer the flavors actually have to work together, the more harmonious I think it is. And so even though I'm making this really quickly, I'm going to have part of it tonight. I'm also looking forward to having part of it for lunch tomorrow. So that was parsley, celery. I have a green onion. And the green onions, again, are onions in general, garlic, all have a lot of cancer-fighting phytochemicals. So a lot of plant chemicals in these vegetables that have been shown to protect against cancer, especially when incorporated over a long time in someone's diet. So they're nice to include every day. Sometimes people do ask us that, like, what should we eat every day? What are kind of superfoods? And to be honest, onions are one of my favorite superfoods if people can eat them. Not everyone is able to tolerate onions. I know some people are on special diets where they aren't doing onions and garlic, but if you can include them in your diet, that's great. So that is how long it takes to make this. That is the beans, some parsley, green onion, and celery salad. It is pretty basic. And then I have salt and pepper. All this over here. The beans were unsalted, so already low in salt, but if you have any issues with sodium, just you can taste it before you serve it or before you add any other salt. And I did want to say that any of these bean salads are a nice backdrop for other flavors. So something like a pesto or something like a spicy, some of the spicy chili sauce. This could
go really well on that. So just as a kind of thrown
That looks
together.
great. I
Yeah.
feel like this is a great thing to bring to like holiday parties too, because it adds extra fiber and protein and helps satiate you. So just a good thing to add
Absolutely.
to the mix.
Yep. And I know people are always kind of, sometimes people ask, or if they feel like there's not going to be something for them to eat at the holiday party, you can kind of throw together your own bean salad, bring it with you. Now you're going to make us.
Yes, I wanted to show you guys a holiday fruit salad and kind of just talk about, I know a lot of people think of fruit salad maybe more of a summer thing, but I think it's a great addition maybe to bring to your holiday gatherings to add to the dessert table. Obviously, not swaying you to not enjoy your favorite desserts, but I do think it's a great addition. And again, has extra fiber, vitamins, minerals, more of those phytochemicals like Karen was talking about, great antioxidants. So it's a good way to get those in, but still enjoy a sweet treat. And this recipe I found specifically also has a glaze that you can make if you want to drizzle over the top to add a little bit of extra flavor. And I made it the other day to test it out, and it had a very nice, like citrusy holiday flavor. And I honestly did not drizzle much over it, and it really had a good pop. So it complemented it really well. I'll show you guys. I put this together just so it would look really pretty.
Oh, it is so
But I have
pretty.
all different fruits in here, a little bit
What did
different
you
than that.
use?
This one has kiwi, strawberries, the cuties oranges,
Mm-hmm.
and pineapple. And
Oh,
then in
that's
the middle, there's grapes and blueberries. So it has a really big variety and it's super yummy when it's all together. If you do want to lean more into like the winter and season produce, if you wanted to add maybe apples or pears instead of the strawberries, you could. So just whatever you're in the mood for. But all of it together is a great mix. I brought it to my family's holiday. Well, it was kind of a holiday gathering this past weekend, and everyone loved it. So I think it'd be a great addition. And the chopping does take a little bit more time, but after that, it comes together really easily. And yeah, I think it's a great addition.
What's in the glaze?
So, oh yeah, sorry, I should have mentioned that. So the glaze is, and I did attach or put at the bottom what the recipe is if you want to look it up. But the glaze is essentially just it's fresh orange juice, fresh lemon juice, a little bit of brown sugar, lemon and orange zest, and then a little bit of vanilla extract. And then you heat it on the stove until it gets more thick, and then you can drizzle it on after. And like I said, even just a little bit added like a big pop of flavor. So I didn't want the sugar content to scare anyone off. Like it's not a huge amount, and I think it adds a great addition.
Yeah, especially when it's kind of dispersed throughout the rest of the fruit.
Yeah, exactly.
The zest is such a great idea. There actually are different phytochemicals in the zest versus the fruit itself. And
Oh yes, that's a
so
good point.
it's nice to include them both. And that adds so much flavor. So I spilled some like bean juice on my countertop, so I think it's a little. Um, so the we do also want to recognize, as we were talking about the last time on the last slide with the fruit salad, that we don't necessarily advocate avoiding all treats during the holidays. In fact, far from it. We really do recognize that the holidays are a time for extra treats. There's comfort food around. And it is important, I think, for a lot of people to be able to enjoy them, to incorporate into the diet, and to recognize that um, the holidays are a time, they're a time for special food. They're a time where there's extra goodies and treats around. But planning for them can really help incorporate them into an overall healthy diet. We tend to recommend reducing added sugars, but not eliminating them necessarily altogether.
For the most part, the American Heart Association actually has the most restrictive guidelines, even more than like the American Cancer Society, as far as tips for reducing, or as far as recommendations for reducing sugar. And that's because too much added sugar is an issue for heart disease, for diabetes, and it's not necessarily worse for people with cancer to have added sugar. So really, we all should be reducing it, but we don't need to eliminate it altogether. The American Heart Association recommends that we have, for women, that we have less than 24 grams of added sugar per day, and for men, around 36 grams of added sugar per day or less. So it is a time where if you can, if there is a sweet treat that you know is a big part of your family, it can be incorporated into a diet. One of the caveats is that sometimes there's just lots of treats around all the time, and it's easy to pick them up without really thinking about it and incorporate a lot of added sugar into your diet that way. So I know for the holidays, for me, my dad's pecan pie is really special, but it is a sugar. I think one bite is about 24 grams of added sugar, but it's worth it. I love it every year. I look forward to him making it. And again, it's something that I'm so grateful that he's still with us and that he can do every year for us and make those pecan pies. So it is a really special thing. And whenever I am able to have a slice of my dad's pecan pie, I really do slow down, try to eat mindfully, focus on uh, the hands that made it and the grace that we're eating it, but the grace by which we are able to enjoy it together. So it is important to acknowledge that there are extra treats, to plan for them, and then really be mindful about enjoying them. I know we're going to look at food labels next, but are there any treats that you're especially looking forward to enjoying, Leah?
Yes, for me, it's Muddy Buddies. I think
Oh,
people call them different names, but
uh-huh.
just like the Chex with peanut butter, chocolate, powdered sugar, that whole mix. My
Yes.
sister has made it every year, even when we were like kids growing up, because it was so easy. And
Oh,
it just makes me think of watching the movie Elf, like just
yes.
hanging out at family gatherings and snacking on that. So that's definitely the treat I like to indulge in every year.
Awesome. And so that we can understand a little bit about what treats, or if we have a chance to look at a food label, do you want to take us through a little bit of how to look at a label and then what the important pieces are?
Yeah, I did want to throw in this label just as a reminder because it can be confusing and overwhelming to look at these, especially when you're worrying about everything else around the holidays.
Mhm.
So I did highlight it into sections so we could kind of go over it. But first, I did want to point out it's important to look at the serving size when you're looking at the label. So the calories aren't always the calories for the entire box or the entire, item that you're consuming. It's specifically for the serving size. So be sure to check that if you are trying to be mindful of the calories and take note of that. There are certain things on the label we want to try to have more of and things we want to limit. So the things we want to try to incorporate more of would be the things highlighted in orange, the fiber, the protein, the vitamins and minerals. Those are things that are going to keep us full, give us the energy we need to get through the day. And then the things we want to try to limit would be like the sodium, cholesterol, um, things like that. So it's not saying that you can't ever have this or that if it's on the label, you shouldn't eat it, but we just want to try to focus or at least be mindful when we're looking at labels to familiarize ourselves with these items. Um, and again, we understand, like Karen mentioned, Christmas Day or Thanksgiving Day are the days that are really important to you. We understand that you're going to indulge in it. We want you to enjoy things, but with all the holiday parties and gatherings, if there's things you can do to incorporate an item that is higher in protein or fiber, then
Mhm.
we want you to do so.
Absolutely. And this is a great way to kind of look for your own swaps on things that maybe um, you have a little bit of sway in. I'm thinking maybe particularly around like broth, if you're using a lot of broths for like stuffing or mashed potatoes or gravy and are trying to particularly limit your sodium intake. When you're looking at food labels on the different options, you can look at the sodium on the different brands and try to find one that's a little bit lower in sodium. Um, I know that chicken broth is is one of those things that some people just have their brands that they're going to use, and that's what makes the dish taste correct. But maybe on other days or times where you're looking at maybe a soup or some other part of a meal that you have some sway over, you want to look at those labels. So if you have like the choice between something that's maybe 160 milligrams of sodium versus 360 milligrams of sodium, and I know for me, some of them do taste a lot different, but some of them don't. It's kind of, it is a little bit of trial and error of picking ones, but I've definitely had items that are pretty low in sodium that taste great. And same with added sugars. Sometimes it, especially with things like maybe like yogurts, look and something has 20 grams of added sugar versus 10, and I don't really notice a big difference in the sweetness, or it's not even really like a problem to switch from one to the other. So looking at those things on the food label so that you can make educated choices and aware choices when the opportunity is available.
Yeah, and same thing with like green bean casserole, if you want to get the low sodium version or just any canned vegetable, that's going to help because then you can go in and add other seasonings later on that still add flavor, like garlic powder, onion powder. There's a lot of seasonings, but trying to get the low sodium cans of vegetables can help too.
Yep. So true. That's a great point. This is the time of the year where we do use some extra spices and things like the garlic powder or raw garlic, or a lot of those spices that go in, it can really help reduce the sodium because they bring out other flavors. And then same with things that are sweet. So cinnamon, I don't know. I actually used to know the biochemistry around this, but cinnamon is actually one of the things that makes us think something is sweeter. And I think vanilla is too. So it's interesting that you had that vanilla in the glaze because I think that helps things kind of taste sweeter without as much sugar. All right, and the last thing we want to talk about as far as strategies to help you get through the holidays is making sure to focus on relax and connecting. Um, Sleeping is very important during the holiday season, just as it is the rest of the year. But so during the holidays, sometimes sleep can really get thrown off if you're traveling, if you're staying up late, or um, trying to get more done, even with work and kids and everything else, or family. If you can try to maintain some type of uh, consistent sleep schedule, that will help your body recover and recuperate while you're sleeping. There is a lot of decent research now that does show that when we get enough sleep, so usually that's between 7 and 8 hours a night, it does help us make healthier food choices the next day. There does seem to be kind of a mechanism of our body is when we don't get enough sleep, our body is going to try to get energy or recuperate other ways, and that might make it either easier for us to overeat or just kind of help make it harder for us to perceive if we're hungry or tired. So getting sleep both helps your body recuperate and also can help you make healthier food choices. And then if you can make plans to spend time with others, especially people who don't stress you out so much, if that's possible. So identifying people that you really want to see during the holidays and really making those plans so that you, in the midst of all the hubbub of shopping and different events, that you know you're going to spend time with people who really do help fill your cup and restore your equilibrium a little bit. And then, especially in Texas, it's so hot. This is actually a nice time to get out in nature a little bit if you can, if you have access to a trail or a green belt, or if there's an area of town that's a park that you can get to just to get around. nature a little bit more. That green space does seem to help us relax. And also it's not so hot outside, so it's a little bit more realistic. All right, do you want to wrap us up?
Yeah, just to wrap it up with a few more tips and swaps for you. Definitely want to make sure we're staying hydrated. I know we talked about that at the beginning of our session. Yes. But it is so important just to get us through the day. Sometimes thirst and dehydration can manifest as hunger and can falsely alert you that you're hungry, but you just need extra hydration. So definitely focusing on that, super important. And then sometimes it's not always about taking things away. Sometimes we need to add more things. So it's a common mindset of people want to save room for dessert later, save room for the foods they want to eat later, but you still need to eat, throughout the day. You can't skip breakfast and lunch just because you have a big dinner coming. So sometimes it's about adding more fiber, protein in our meals. That way we stay full longer and we're not mindlessly snacking all day long up until the point we have our holiday gathering. And so other things I've noticed too is like even dips, like if you want to use like Greek yogurt and then add a seasoning packet to a dip, sometimes that's more satiating than just snacking on a dip you'd buy from the store, like pre-made. And then also just being super mindful of portion sizes and maybe trying to, make snacks and make your plate and then go sit down and enjoy it and actually be present in the moment, eat with friends instead of standing there all day grazing at the table. It's hard to keep track of exactly how much you've consumed. So just a little thing you can do to kind of help have more control when you are in those settings with other people and a lot of food is around.
Well, thank you so much for doing this with me, Leah. It was actually a really great way. Now I have dinner and I've gotten a little bit of hydration in, which I probably should admit how little I take my own advice, but probably we had not done this, I might have run out without drinking adequate fluids or having some high fiber dinner. So maybe if you wanted to watch this video again and cook along with us and make the hydration along with us, it'll help you as well.
Yes, it's always nice to have a reminder.
Yes. And we really appreciate being able to do this with the Texas Oncology Foundation. They have lots of more resources and ways to connect, especially during the holidays. So thank you for spending this time with us, and definitely reach out to the Texas Oncology Foundation. And we'd love to hear from you and have feedback about what other kind of information would be helpful from us. So thank you.
Thank you so much, and I hope you have happy holidays.